Kiss 969. The morning after.
All right, so welcome to another edition of The Morning After. I'm here with theatre extraordinaire, Mr. Feroz Kamardeen. I've known this guy before Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram existed.
Yes.
It's great to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
Welcome on the
Thank
show.
you so much.
When I gave you a call about 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago, I wasn't really expecting for you to be like, hey, let's do this. But as always, he never lets you down.
Yeah.
I heard the fantastic reviews from the first show, Grow Up Nana. And there's so many questions that I have for you because you seldom do these sit downs.
Yeah,
I can't remember the last time I saw you doing.
Yeah, no, I actually did a sit down 2 days ago. Actually, with Dano.
Okay, right, perfect. So, what is the inspiration behind Grow Up Nana? Number one, you don't necessarily, you're not the face of your plays. You know,
Yes,
time
this
you are.
is true. This is very true. So actually, I wrote Grow Up Nana sometime in 2022. I started writing it, and I originally wrote it as see, for me, I mean, yes, I do the fried and tested things in the sense, I suppose, as a theatre company, SLM has had more what we call franchises, only because they are continuations of an existing play.
Right.
So in Pushpadilla we had a franchise that went from part 1 through to part 5, and then we did RC Media part 1 and part 2, then we did RC Plan part 1 and 2, and then we were planning to do 3 when we cancelled it. And then of course Freddy's now had 7 parts to it, although officially we are recognizing 5, officially we are recognizing 6. 6. Because one Freddy didn't have a number for some reason. So we did Freddy 1, and then we did Freddy 2, which was Strikes Back, then 3, 4, 5, which was this thing. Then we realized in the middle of all that, we did a show at the Temple Trees, right? Which was called Freddy's One Night Stand. That was between 1 and 2, right? And that was between 2 and 3.
Okay.
Right? And then we realized, oh gosh, we should have given that a number.
Okay.
Because we just call it Freddy 1 Night Stand, right? Which technically that should have been 3, but now we went and called the other Freddy 3 New Hope. And then we sat down and we actually had this conversation. So I sat down and I said, look guys, I think Freddy Temple Tree show should have got a number. And we said, why? I said, because think about it. We played to 2,600 people. Wow. The largest ever audience for an English theatre production, right? A single audience, 2,635 people. I remember that, right? And as a funny story to that as well. So anyway, so I said, look, that is 4 lineup and full houses, right? Which means that should have got its own number. He said, that's true, Nana. But now by this time when we realized this, we had already done Freddy 5 also, right? We had already done Freddy 5, it was Goodbye Nation. We did that Galadang, the Mia Comedy Club. Anyway, so they decided we're going to call the Temple Trees show Freddy 6. So now the Freddy convention goes 1, 2, 6, 3, 4, 5, and 7. So the next Freddy that I do will probably be Freddy 7. Right. You will be like, what happened to 6? No, 6 we did it earlier, you see. So a little bit like Star Wars, like George Lucas and because. So it's quite so we do this kind of this franchise plays, right? So I wanted to try and do something different in the stand-up scene. In the stand-up scene, what I had done was we introduced the stand-up comedy to the Lion Went with Freddy 1, right? We introduced that concept, and obviously it caught on really well. The stand-up comedy is a very real art form. It's not a made up, it's not characters.
It's very present.
You wear your heart on your sleeve, right? You have to be this thing. In stand-up comedy, there's an element to you being attached to the show beyond the show. Whereas in a normal play, you don't have to be attached, right? I mean, you can distinguish and find it. And even, like, for example, I suppose when you do voiceovers or advertisements or whatever, you're not expected to continue that beyond that. Right? I mean, for example, you can voice over a soft drinks commercial. Nobody will come up to you later on in the week and say, "Hey, you endorse that soft drink, why are you drinking this soft drink?" No one's going to ask you that. But a stand-up comedian, on the other hand, if I say trash a soft drink product and I'm seeing drinking that same thing later on, it's kind of, you're being a bit hypocritical here, right? That's not on, So you have to be very. So I wanted to experiment with the single performance. Because that's something we had never done. We had always multiple performers, right? And Freddy as a franchise has brought, to this thing some of the biggest and brightest stand-up performers on the scene. But I wanted to do one where the narrative was even longer. Because in every Freddy I write for 20-25 minutes. That's all. Each performance gets a 20-25 minutes long. And it's quite funny actually.
And you write their material, right?
Everything, every single word is scripted.
So all
Right.
these
So
stars
all
that made it, on the back of this guy.
And you see, the thing is this, right? So in those things, we are so particular about what word you use because those lips are always itchy. You're always either pushing a line, or you're standing on the line, or you're actively crossing a line.
Right.
Whatever we do, we have to be on the right side of the law. So what we do is, I write the script, I send it to the public performances board, they give me their approval, and they usually give approval without any blanket, without any issues.
Right.
Then during rehearsal, we keep changing the script, right? So it keeps changing all the time. And then maybe 2 weeks before the show, I lodge in my final script with the public performance board, saying this is my final script with the judges, now approve this one.
Right.
Because you approve the foundation, now this is what the house looks like.
Right.
Okay? So approve that. And they usually give me, now I just got a program now, like, well, we got it this Monday. Beyond that, if anyone tries to do what we call a walkabout, it is crushed immediately at rehearsals. Okay?
Right.
Nobody is made to figure this thing, right? I mean, like, we didn't care who it was. You could be like the biggest star.
Right.
This thing, you're on the
script.
ready stage, you
Yeah.
stick to the script.
Right.
Otherwise, we stop you, go back to the beginning. So we had that a lot of these things. So it's quite fun because the trick in that is, there are two tricks as a playwright. Number one, I have to trick the audience into believing that the content actually is coming from the performer and not from a playwright.
Yeah.
Right? And number two, when the performer is performing, we like to give it an element of being unscripted, although every word is scripted. So, for example, when we ask the question, are there any royalists in the audience? We have to always rehearse both options. Yes or no, and we kind of prevent asking questions that have ambiguous answers. Because when you're going on a walkabout, you have to have.
Right.
But now here's the question: if you have royalists, yes or no, for both you have to have an out. So if there are royalists, then there should be a joke for that. If there are no royalists, there should be a joke for that also. So you have to practice both jokes. Right, and you kind of then you work out. But then, having said that, you still can fall into incredible trouble for no bloody reason, for no fault of yours. Okay, no absolute fault of yours, right? And then everybody was like, everybody was like, yeah, we do that. I'll give you an incredible example about a walkabout. So in Grow Up Nana Part 1, between the first show and the second show, there was a gap of 1 month. I did a repeat show in January. And in that period, my friend Mohammed Adam Ali was elevated to President's Council.
Okay.
Now it's quite a big deal because number one, there are quite a few President's Councils in the Muslim community, but Adam was the first Bora.
Oh wow!
They were first.
Shout out to Adam, by the way.
Shout out to Adam. Yeah.
But
So he was the first person from the Bora community to be elevated to President's Council, and that's a very big deal. So in my piece, I had this bit where I'm talking about the Boras and how Sunnis look down on Boras and all that. And I said, and by the way, a shout out to my friend Mohammed Adam Ali, who became the first person from the Bora community to be, elevated to the president. I made a dig at Adam and whatever. And then I said, Adam is one of the lawyers who provides his services pro bono for me for all my theatre work. Okay. Which goes to prove that only a Sunni Muslim can get something free from But the point is,
that didn't
so,
go down.
no.
That did.
It went off well.
Yeah.
But now for that piece to work, I need to find out, are there any Boras in the audience? All the Bora guys make some noise, right? So basically I'm looking for Bora guys. And we never thought to have an out for that, because we always assumed that there would always be Boras in the audience.
Wow.
Okay?
And
Nobody in my team, all of us, nobody assumed otherwise. Because according to our past box office track record, every single one of my plays, every single night, there have been at least maybe 15 to 20 Boras. Okay? So you don't have a problem, right?
Yeah.
The night that Adam and his wife Nadira were in the audience, when I was doing the shout out to Adam,
Right.
just before I went into the shout out, I go like, are there any Boras in the audience? Nobody.
No one.
Absolutely nobody.
Wow.
Okay? So much so that Adam said, and then I said, I don't need men.
Yeah.
I'm coming to you now, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I wanted somebody else other than Adam. I wanted a Bora guy whom I didn't know.
Right.
There was nobody.
Wow.
And I was quite flustered because even my team was panicking. They were going like, shit, why are they not? Because they know I'm not going to say anything bad to them, and it's a fun thing, right? So I asked, the joke was, are there any Bora guys there? And then, some guy will say something and I say, my name's Feroz, what's your name?
Yeah.
Right? So he'll say, my name's Hussein.
Right.
And then I go like, your full name and you're under Brazilian football and
Right.
one like Ronaldinho, Pele, Hussein, right? What's your full name? And then, so that's kind of the joke.
The build-up.
But there was nobody there. And then after the show, Adam and I said that there was a function at their mosque.
Oh wow.
So nobody came on that day. The rest of the days they were fine.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
now that is kind of, we did not expect that. And then somebody else said, oh, by the way, we passed the Bora Mosque in Bangladesh and there were lots of cars there. So obviously there was some religious thing happening. So they didn't this thing. And another why they showed that they didn't go there.
So yeah, you need to really plan this stuff out.
Yeah, well, so sometimes you get, but then luckily I was on stage and I'm like, I went out, they're not here today, maybe I didn't, and then we have to move on because it can.
How many, honestly, like just looking back, how many plays have you done?
Well, I have directed maybe 40 plus plays, but I have written quite a few. So I've written 5 to Swindlers, 2 Answer Medias, 2 Answer Clans, so that's 9, and then now 6 Freddy, so that's 15, then Hamlet, Julius Caesar 17, and now 2. So I've written 19 plays. And of course, I wrote the Freddy skits, which had about another 12 short plays. So I've written about 32 plays now.
And the inspiration for these 30 odd plays?
No, so they come from different places, different places. So grow up now, you asked me the question why I wrote. So anyway, so I wanted to have this single performer show, and obviously one of the things that affected me at that point, and something that was affecting me, and this is something I do when something really gets to me, I don't rant about it on social media. I don't do this. I just
You
write
hardly
something.
even.
I just write. Yeah, I
post
just
it.
write something.
Yeah.
Okay, I just write something.
Yeah.
So after the Easter Sunday bombings, the atrocity of that, I felt the Islamophobia that was going on. I felt
As sad as it was.
Yeah, sad. But I also felt that part of we can shout about it, or we can also choose to do something. Now we can't change the whole world. Right? But as a playwright, I was thinking, can I do something that will, number one, kind of explain who we are. Take time out to explain. Okay. And number two, can I also tell the non-Muslims, look, we're really not that much different. Yes, we have a few different things that we do. Things that are mandated to us by our religion, things that are compulsory, things that are this thing. But other than that, we are all subject to the same things. We all have the same idiosyncrasies, as it were, right? We all have, aunties and uncles who will find fault with you if you don't do something. Okay, if you don't go for a function, we all have people who will call, somebody higher up the chain in your family circle and say, he didn't come for this function, he has ignored this person, he has not spoken to this person, he has been rude to this auntie. We all have that. We all have checks and balances on our social behavior, right? For the Muslims, it's one way. For the Tamil Christians and similarly different. But we all follow that. So what I'm trying to say is the social rules, norms, conventions. We all have people in our lives who make sure that those social conventions are followed. Right now, for example, however progressive or this thing you may be, if you were having a function and if you were inviting, say, 3 of your cousins and their children, obviously someone will say, but what about your other cousins? You should invite them too. Like you can't invite only the cousins from your mother's side, for example. What about your cousins from your dad's side? Now, for a birthday party, maybe because you're having a small day, but when you can do a wedding, do you not have to follow the protocol? If you invite one cousin, should you not invite the other cousins? If you don't you have someone in your life who will call and say, this is not how you do it,
This is not wrong.
whether it's your grandmother or your mother or your father or your mother's sister or a sibling, somebody will say, no, this is not how we do it in our family. Okay? You invite one, you invite everybody. You can't invite only your rich cousins. You have to invite everybody. Everybody has a right to be at that. So I was trying to show to them that. And then the other thing in part one. So anyway, when I wrote this piece, I originally wrote it 5 hours. Now he's directing this one, ironically. And we went through a couple of readings and iterations, and then it became very clear. And even if I said that, he said, look, in a 20-25 minute piece, you can hide yourself and make people believe that this is me. But this piece, take it beyond an hour 15, it's very difficult to hide you. Right? Everybody is, he said, it's almost like I am coming here because you can't speak. Okay? I mean, if you can't speak, that's fine. But I'm just relating his thing. I might as well say, by the way, Pharaoh said, and then just take the whole thing. Because he said it's very personal to you, it's very this thing. And at that point came the really big problem for us as a unit. And we had a massive this thing. But I'm very happy that I have a culture in our theatre company. Everybody gets to have a say. All the key people, you get to have a say. Nobody gets upset. You call it what it is. And there was a very, very valid suggestion being made. A very valid point that was brought out by a couple of them. The team was bitterly divided. There were people like they were almost angry with one another for having the different opinions. So one of the opinions was, why do you have to do it? And the other side was, no, why shouldn't he do it? What's the big deal? Okay. And then the counter argument was, he hasn't been on stage for 15 years. Okay. And in that 15 years, he has put through, as an artistic director and as a playwright, he has put through some of the finest comic actors in this country. Okay. He has directed Adam. Adam has been in my plays. Ifaz, Dominic, Basan, Daminda, Nisal, Gihan Block, Dino, you name it. I've put some of the best comic talent on stage in my plays. They have been on show. Now the question was, if people start comparing them, okay, you have to understand, you are an actor without 15 years of stage experience. You are an actor who has spent a lot of time directing and a hell of a lot of time writing. You haven't really devoted any time to that craft, right? This is a very big difference. Directing an actor and acting are as different as coaching a football team and actually playing the game, right? You understand that, right? Because the director has strategy the same, but the director is not expected to run for this thing. Just like a football coach is not going to go 80 minutes into the game. No, he needs to sit there. Yes, his strategy, yes, he's a very crucial component, but the actual, so that was the fear, right? And then obviously we spoke through it, and the piece also got amended to include a lot more of me, right? And to include a lot more of this thing. And then of course, you know, there were even like little things, like for example, there was a small this thing I did about Pusveli, right? You know, about my experiences with Pusveli and whatever. And this thing was that Pusveli's voice had to be recreated on stage. Now the problem there was that the audience is used to Pusveli laying 3 distinct voices. So it's either Anuruddha, Dominic or Sulam, the 3 people who have played Pusveli. So I don't sound like any of them, obviously, right? I mean, they all, as you can see, they all have fit a certain profile, and you know, they'll all occupy a lot more than this one cushion, right? A little bit more here. Anyway, so then we were thinking about it, and then we said, actually, I think it was Siraj who came up with that, and he said, Nana, don't do Pusveli. Show the audience what goes on in your mind when you're writing it. Because when I'm writing it, there's a voice in my head. Okay, this is how I want it said. And then I transfer that to the actor and they do it their way, which is brilliant, right? Which is what works. Okay, that's what they bring to the table. but the phrasing, the timing, everything is. So then we converted that to not what Puspedilla said, but how Puspedilla sounded like in my head when I wrote that. Right? So that's how you kind of
Shout out Sheikh Mo.
Yes, yeah, he was your colleague as well, right?
So wow, man, this is like absolutely inspiring to say the least, because there's going to be a lot of people that watch this and they'll think to themselves, what do I have it in me to do this? So you might want to take this opportunity to encourage our younger viewership and people that might be on the fence, so to say, on, can I do this? How do I start? What do I do? Do I have a theater school I can, maybe that's a good idea for you to think
yeah,
about.
I know, but the thing is, I get so caught up in my writing, and of course my job, that sometimes I find it difficult to commit to like a regular thing like that. Schools and stuff like that, we turn up at a particular, so I'm not a big fan of that.
Right.
Because sometimes when I start writing, I know it just takes up a hell of a lot of my time, so I don't really.
So if you were to basically share some words of inspiration with our audience on how they can begin this journey, if at all they're at a stage in life where they're thinking, I would like to be, in a play or direct a play or write something, where do they start? I mean, how did it start for you? Like, how old were you?
I started from a very young age. I was involved in speech and drama and things like that.
Right.
I studied with Mrs. Wendy Wadmore, Mrs. Jagannath, and Vidya Alice, and with Wendy Halsing, also Wendy's daughter. They were all my teachers. I had some fabulous teachers when I was small.
So a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I know.
And
then in so Wendy Wadmore, the legend of Wendy Wadmore.
I know her, but
I had the distinction of being her student.
Wow.
And Mrs. Jagannath, she instilled a lot of the discipline of the speech craft in me, and Nagu, this was an earlier teacher, and then later on I went to Wendy Halsinger after Auntie Wendy couldn't teach classes anymore. And then of course at DS, obviously Jerome was directing DS, so I started acting for DS in '87, and then I directed DS myself in '93 and '94 and '95. And so it just, my
it was a natural progression.
In '96 I did Macbeth and so on and so forth, and then came 2007, which was like the pivotal year.
Right.
And that was when we were doing 2006 actually. We were doing Venice, which was a big production, and then in order to raise funds for Venice, we were doing this play called America, which is the complete works of America. It was a really funny play. We take the audience.
We promoted like 90%.
I know, that's right. So complete works was that. But the thing with the complete works script was, as a director, when I looked at the script, the first half was brilliant because everything was funny and everything was fine. Second half, while it's being very funny, I felt was a little bit too alienated to our audience. I didn't think they would get the references that were in the second half. Like there were references to things like Jimmy Hoffa and things like that. And you really need to know your American culture to get that. So I decided, no, I'm not going to use their second half. I'm going to put my own second half in.
Was that Rick Hooley?
No. Complete Works of America was written by this company called the Reduced Shakespeare Company. They are the ones who did the Complete Works of Shakespeare as well. So their thing is that, doing a big play in like a couple of hours. So then I rewrote the second half of America. Right. So the first half was somebody else, the second half was mine, and I fused it into a play. And in that rewriting of the second half of America, it's in 2007. So we had just elected president in 2005, and the US also, I think, was going in for election in 2008. Right. So given that context, I thought maybe nice to have like a skit where we show a Sri Lankan presidential candidate and a US one. Okay, I thought let's put those two on stage. You don't expect that, no, right? So obviously they are not running the same elections, but we pretended that they were, and we said this thing. So Michael Halsinger played the US candidate, and Amrutha played the Sri Lankan candidate, who at the time I named him Chintaka Puspedilla.
Wow.
So that was Chintaka, because remember at that time the whole tagline was Chintanayana,
yes,
right? Chintanayana. So he was called Chintaka Puspedilla.
Brilliant.
And so Chintaka Puspedilla comes on stage, and he does this whole thing, like where he doesn't know what that guy is saying, and then like for example, I think one of the first big jokes was he said, the US candidate said, I will bring our energy prices, right? And then Putin responds, said, you don't have a plan? No, I have a plan. I will reduce the cost of coal. How? You do you know? You don't know? I'll tell you how. By importing it from China where everything is cheap, right? And then he said, I have another plan, right? I'm going to make cars that run on coconut oil.
Wow.
Okay? And then coconut oil, this thing, we will export our coconut oil to the whole world. And this thing, we will car run on coconut oil, right? So that was his madcap idea. So that was it. But that segment was so incredibly popular with the audience. I mean, I'd like to think we have the video of America to prove it. So you can I mean, if you listen to the audio track, you can listen to the audience reacting. I mean, yes, they loved it when we took the Mickey on America and there was nice laughter and everything. But when that Bruce Willis skit happened, that it just took on another level. Like their laughter was like, just. I mean, the decibels in the room just went up. Okay, it was like just this thing, and everybody. That was the thing. So then I decided to spin that character off and write it, as a separate play. And so came this thing. And actually, the entire series was never called the Bruce Willis series. The actual name for that was Thank You for Voting. That's what it was called. It's called Thank You for Voting. That entire Bruce Willis series, the official name of it, even in my folders, it's TYFV, Thank You for Voting. That's what it was called. But then obviously everybody started calling it Bruce Willis because of the iconic lead character in the play. And so that's how the whole Bruce Willis franchise and this came about. So that's my writing journey. So 2007 I started writing.
2007.
Yeah, that was my first play. Well, Bruce Willis was my first play, but then America also counts as, because one half was mine. So
Right.
So about an hour of America.
It's been an absolutely amazing journey. Being a part of your journey was also very inspirational for me, because I learned a lot about what you guys do by seeing is believing. And I was backstage for many of your plays when we were at different radio stations.
Correct.
And it's exciting to be a part of it again. So Box Plan is out. You can get your
Box Plan is out.
It's
It's at stagelightandmagic.com.
Okay.
And we are opening on the 22nd, which is the following Friday, and going on to the 30th. But we're already performing the 2 weekends. So I'm performing 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and then taking a break and coming back 28th, 29th, 30th. So Saturday will be our last show.
So all the guys on the team that had their reservations about you being the face of the play now have said.
Well, no, yeah. So that's fine.
It's all good now.
No, that's all good. No, I do. Their
They were
concern.
right.
Their concern was also there.
Comparison
That's true.
was-
Yeah, their concern was valid. But I think we fixed it over the years. We fixed it. It required a lot of changes on my part. Required a lot of changes in this thing, because there are always complexities, right? I think it's very complex, because you have, in a play, you have your playwright, you have your director, and then you have your cast, right? But here we have a director who's a cast, but then the playwright and the cast are the same, right? You get what I'm saying? And technically, the playwright outranks everybody, because the playwright can change the play.
Absolutely.
Right? So now we have like little rules in place. We don't, I don't wear the playwright cap when I'm at rehearsal. I'm only the performer's cap, stuff like that. So we have to build in a few rules also to make it work.
Preparation-wise, this must be quite a daunting.
It is because you can't do more than one run.
Because the
It's-
guy's
it's a-
got a full-time job.
Yeah.
He manages like this multinational computer
I think my business partner will will beg to differ when you say full time. He would say Feroz is more part time at Foundation Technology, not really full time.
It's a pleasure seeing you again.
Likewise,
I
man.
really hope that this second edition of your show is just going to kick some behind, as it always does.
I hope so.
We're going to be in the front seats from
Thank you.
what I hear. And again, if you have any final thoughts or messages for your wonderful audience, this is
I think it's going to be a fun thing. For me, it's a far tighter script than part one. And obviously, in when you're doing a part two, you do kind of push the envelope a little.
Right.
You try because you know where the line is now. And
course.
you can dance around the line a little. And in all fairness, I have to say my community has taken it up really well. Right? I mean, they've loved coming there and having a good laugh at themselves, and that's been a really fun thing for me to see, people coming and laughing and
Fantastic.
And I think there's nothing that defines a community better than an ability to laugh at them. So, and I think that I'm very proud of my community for being able to do that.
Absolutely. Okay. I wish you all
Thanks,
the best.
thanks, my friend.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers. All right.
Right, let's move on.